All right. Hello. Uh, this is technically the LP Fantasy Show, LP's Fantasy Show. I am Dagan LP. Um, I've been recording for a little bit here, and sometimes I lack the motivation to record now and then, even though I get these thoughts about fantasy football. Um, and part of the reason I think I lose motivation is because I feel like I have to put on this show in a sense. But the issue is the purpose of this is to be more like a log, more like a journal, almost like a captain's log, if you would. Um, so I'm going to kind of format it in that way. A lot of times, at least recently, I've been trying to do shows that have a specific theme, whether I'm drafting or whether I'm grouping ideas and thoughts together as one thing and kind of talking about multiple ideas of about the same thing in one show. Um, it's now, I think, going to be more like I just record these random thoughts that I'm getting, and there might not be any organization to it whatsoever. I just want to get my thoughts down because I think, once again, talking out the process uh, is better than not. That being said, if you listen and you enjoy listening, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Even though I might put less showy effort into this, I promise that the effort I'm putting into the fantasy analysis it is there. Going to be talking about a few different things here today, especially related to the ADP draft board and some of these late round picks. Technically, the Puppy 2 Superflex is closed, but I've been doing so. I'm still in two slow drafts. And I'm in the later rounds, kind of like the 12th, 13th, 14th, maybe even closer to 15th, 16th. It just might feel like that because Superflex, the ADPs usually jump about 24 spots in the later rounds. But, it's made me think about a few things. I'll also be talking about how I feel, I guess, about Dalton Schultz and also some ambiguous backfields here. This really started with my thoughts on Gus Edwards, which I want to go over one more time because I think I'm pretty much sold that this is the way I'm going to play the Baltimore backfield. We'll get to that at the end. Let's talk about Olave Wilson first. So, in the drafts I've been doing, I just haven't really gotten great pick luck in terms of these early picks. Early on in the offseason, I was getting tons of these, and now I'm getting more like this range. And in fact, I think the earliest pick I've gotten recently is pick 5, which is honestly I just drafted from it, and I ended up feeling like my team was okay, but I hated it, and I knew I could get a better team if I'm in pick, if I literally had pick 4. Um, so part of this has been pick luck, but Olave and Wilson, I've talked about multiple times. I just need to be on them. I'm just re-cement because I've kind of gotten off of them a little bit only because I've just kind of not lucked out. I've been taking more Dawson Knox in the 9th round. And so Olave, I've been kind of off on or off of a little bit. And I just need to I need to get back in because looking at reception perception, I mean, it's so stupid of me to not have used this resource earlier in the off seasons, already spending like hundreds of dollars, doing drafts and stuff. And, I was kind of on it already. But and I looked at reception perception, especially for Olave before. And, I saw it, it was unreal, but I just need to be. I'm okay with taking Olave in the 8th round, and I should be, honestly. Once again, if their money plays to me, I believe that they're getting a 2-round discount. So I've got to be taking Olave in the 8th and allowing myself Knox in the 9th. I like Olave even more than I like. It's pretty close on Kareem Hunt, but maybe it should go Hunt, Olave, Knox. The problem with that is you would love if you could get these guys, plus one other shot, especially in these rounds. I think there's a lot of upside to be had. The same goes true for Garrett Wilson. Like, yeah, Zach Wilson scares you, but it's kind of unreal how good he is. Um, and so I'm all aboard. Looking at reception, or I listened to the Establish the Run podcast the other day with Matt Harmon, who runs reception perception. And he kind of just re-talked me into Pittman. I was in on Pittman early in the offseason, especially when he was going in this range. And now he's jumped up into the third round, but I should just be okay with it, honestly. I'm really, really high on the Colts as a team this year, and especially as an offense. The defense could also theoretically be a slightly worse. Darius Leonard is hurt. They lost a corner. They had a guy retire. Um, you know, a safety retire. I can't remember his name is escaping me right now, but he was pretty good. And so Pittman here in the third round compared to all the other guys going around here. Like, I like Keenan, I like Mike. I just don't know which one's going to be the number one, and I know this guy's going to be the number one. And I think Matt Ryan's still good. And I think Frank Reich is a better offensive coordinator than Joe Lombardi. I don't care how good Justin Herbert is. I mean, I kind of do because I love Justin Herbert, but in terms of fantasy and what I can rely on, Pittman is like one of the safer picks in the third round, I think, and Pittman might even be a safe pick in the second round. He's almost kind of like discount Mike Evans, except the Colts aren't going to throw as much as the Bucks. And behind Pittman, there's not a ton, and Pittman's just good. We're like really, really good. And yeah, Alec Pierce is there, so he's maybe the Russell Gage in this sense. But they're going to want to run the rock. But if they can throw efficiently, I think they're going to throw efficiently, and they're going to just possibly, if Matt Ryan's as good as we've seen him be, not necessarily like his MVP years, but if Matt Ryan's as good as he was last year on the Falcons. Which wasn't incredible, but I also think we don't know exactly how good he played last year simply because the team around him was so atrocious. I mean, outside of like Gage and Pitts, but Pitts was just coming on. The offensive line is just not good, and they had nothing at running back. Mike Davis, come on, he was like 28, and been a satellite pass catching running back his entire career. So, Pittman, I looking at reception perception, I think Pittman is just a nice pick here. I also looked at reception perception and the Beast, by the way. I've been going back and looking at Dane Brugler's The Beast. Tolbert was a guy that he had in his top 10. I won't reveal too much about what he said. You should just go pay for a subscription at The Athletic, just simply for the Beast alone. If you like the draft prospects coming out, I'm not the biggest college football fan in general, but I do love the draft and everything about it. It's probably my favorite time of the offseason. So Jalen Tolbert's a guy I've been kind of thinking about, and I'm really mad at myself because the news came out maybe a couple days ago that Jalen Tolbert will probably be starting week 1, and I kind of figured that coming in. And simply due to that news coming out, his ADP is going to rise. And so something we've got to think about for next offseason is once these players get drafted, and I've got an idea, whether that's assisted by the help of other podcasts or myself, if I've got an idea that this player is going to start, based on how they fit in the offense and the scheme and the talent around in this situation, I should be on these players, these rookies that are going way, way late. Jalen Tolbert, both reception perception and the Beast, really liked, and said some really good things. Some general things you can find on the internet. He set the school record, or he led the team in receiving in his third year, and then in his fourth year, which you don't love fourth years, but in his fourth year, I think he set the school record for catches, yards, and touchdowns. That's pretty impressive. He's very successful, and I think. Oh, and he played the X receiver position in college. I don't remember where he went to college. It was I think a Mountain West team or something. but he played the X receiver in college. And look where he ends up on Dallas, where Michael Gallup, the typical X receiver, is hurt with an ACL, and CD Lamb, who's obviously better than him, but they want to make, I think like a slot hybrid, if anything, like almost like a. I think they're deciding now this offseason to put him outside, but you know, even if they do, maybe he's a Z because he's just so great with the ball in his hands. Um, and if he is the X and, Tolbert's the Z, once again, reception perception really, really liked him. You should definitely check it out. Worth like double what you have to pay right now if you're interested in fantasy football and wide receivers or just football in general and wide receivers and how good they are. Because this isn't just a fantasy thing. This is literally just charting how successful each wide receiver is, at beating press, beating zone, beating man, and their success by route percentage. Just go freaking get one. So Jalen Tolbert's going to step into this situation where, Dallas, I kind of expect the defense to regress a little bit. Like, it was pretty shocking how good this defense was last year. I kind of don't expect that to repeat. Like, I get that Diggs is good. Trevon Diggs is good. And he's a cornerback that, goes for the picks and kind of gives up some stuff, but you live and die by the three, basically. Like what else they have in that secondary. I don't think it's anything fantastic. Micah Parsons is Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence is DeMarcus Lawrence. And, you like Van Der Esch a little bit. I get it. But, this Dallas offense could throw a little bit. Even if they want to run a little bit more, I think they could throw a little bit more. And, the narrative around the Dallas Cowboys franchise this season, at least in regards to their offense, is, Kellen Moore designing more plays to give like some gimmies to, CD and Dak, and I'm assuming this will include Tolbert. But if Tolbert is even successful, he could be the number 2 option in this passing offense, and could more likely probably the number 3, depending on how you feel about Schultz or if you count the running game. Is Pollard gonna kind of step in and be like this 3-down workhorse because like something happens to Zeke? I don't know, but I kind of like in Tolbert here, especially with how late he's going in comparison. Same thing with Dotson, right? Like the same argument applies. Like Dotson should see opportunity. I think is going to be the number 2 wide receiver in this offense. Same thing with Tolbert, except they both, except like Dotson was taken in the first round. Tolbert was taken, I think, might have been day 3 even, but like I said, Dane Brugler, has him highly ranked, at least top 10 within the draft class. So I'm kind of in on Tolbert there. I'm not mad at Tolbert there at round 13, especially just with the other options around. Same reason I like Alec Pierce, a guy who I think could step in and be the number 2 in an offense that's pretty good. I think I like Pierce. I'm not sure if I like Pierce better than I like Tolbert yet, but I definitely like the Indianapolis Colts offense better. So yeah. Recently heard some stats about Schultz that are just scary. Basically saying he was an average player, talent wise, not average, but like above average, but nothing like insane. In a good opportunity. And his ADP is way, way higher than a lot of the other tight ends. Like we're talking Kittle in the 5th, Schultz in the 6th. Like, are we so sure about that we spend 6th round draft capital on Dalton Schultz when you could be spending 6th round draft capital on Joe Burrow or Devontae Smith, Elijah Moore, Adam Thielen? You could be spending 6th round draft capital on Kareem Hunt. And maybe that doesn't sound right up there, but even AJ Dillon, Elijah Mitchell, Amon-Ra. You could be spending 6th round draft capital on DeAndre Hopkins or Drake London or Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Michael Thomas, CEH, Pollard, Trey Lance, or Dalton Schultz. It just doesn't kind of make sense. So he's a guy like, if you really, really believe that he's the number 2, then okay, go ahead. I'm just not so sold, especially with my last thoughts on Tolbert. And so, I'll let somebody else take the plunge on Dalton Schultz. Let's talk about Gus Edwards. Okay, so something I looked up the other day, or looked up earlier today, was the nature of J.K. Dobbins's and Gus Edwards' injuries. Um, Gus Edwards is being taken in the 15th. Yeah. Gus Edwards is ADP is definitely jumped pretty high, pretty much around up to this point, almost maybe a round and a half. So it's really jumped up, but I still think it's really really valuable, and I still think he's a money play. Dobbins' ADP is falling in the going in the opposite direction, and so that's starting to make sense. I was kind of talking way back here at on June 12th, that Dobbins' ADP is falling, but Gus Edwards isn't moving at all, which doesn't make any sense. If you don't believe it's Dobbins, then you must believe it's Edwards, unless you're telling me that you believe in it's going someone else like Devontae Freeman or Mike Davis or something. If so, why aren't you drafting them? Because the Ravens have gone balls to the walls, run heavy. They're completely selling in. Okay, first they went and drafted Tyler Linderbaum, the best center prospect in the draft class, arguably a top 10 pick. They're getting Nick Boyle back. Marquise Brown is traded. I think they got another offensive lineman. I can't remember who it is, but they basically went like all in on like we're gonna go 22 personnel, or even like even 21, I guess. Or is it 12? 12. We're gonna go 12 personnel and completely run the rock. Lamar Jackson's even beefed up. Okay, so now we have the issue of who were we taking. Now Gus Edwards is a guy last year who I think was going in the when he was presumed, the presumptive number one because Dobbins went down. He was getting taken in like the 5th, 6th round. Okay, and yes, Dobbins I do expect to be back at some point, but the injuries that these guys sustained are slightly different. They both suffered ACL tears, but Gus Edwards had the isolated ACL tear. Dobbins had a little bit of ligament damage, I think, on the MCL. I got all this information off the Athletic. Another reason to get a subscription to the Athletic. And so right now, who's probably going to come back sooner? It's probably going to be Gus Edwards, and because when we have extra ligament damage involved, I know it wasn't a complete tear, but it did say damage. It takes longer to come back, and it even takes longer for players to reach previous performance, pre-injury performance. So Gus Edwards is a guy, I think that number one, I've talked about the fact that he is not a rookie. He does not need to like learn the offense or get acclimated. This guy's been in the system. He has the isolated ACL injury. He didn't suffer it too much longer after J.K. Dobbins did, because we never saw Gus Edwards take the field. Not even, I think, in a preseason game. I think it might have been before preseason game one. And so, Gus Edwards is probably going to come back sooner, and he's probably going to come back better. Not necessarily, and all he has to do is be better than J.K. Dobbins. Now, he doesn't have to be better than he was before, but he just has to be better now than J.K. Dobbins will be. And I think that's going to mean a lot. And, Dobbins, yeah, okay, he could come back and he could play well. It'll be a full calendar year. It won't be the 9 months. So maybe Dobbins can come back. And so I'm not against taking Dobbins there. It is slightly risky, but I'm going to bet on the fact that if both come back healthy, that, if we presume Gus Edwards is going to come back sooner, then we expect that they're both going to come back healthy this year, and they'll probably split work, right? Like the Ravens are going to run so much, even if you think Dobbins is way better than Gus Edwards, which the Ravens don't, by the way. The Ravens like and love Gus Edwards. There's going to be enough work to go around. Even if you believe that Dobbins is that much better, there's going to be enough work to go through. Ravens are going to be the run happiest team in the league again, and Lamar's going to get some of that. And so I like Lamar at ADP. Dobbins is going to obviously get that if you think he's the 1A. I don't even care if you think he's the 1A because to me, Gus Edwards is the 1B. And I think he could come out of the gates quicker and sooner than Dobbins. So that's how I'm handling the Baltimore backfield now. That's why I've got Gus Edwards as a money play. This kind of ties into some other ambiguous backfields. The Ravens backfield is a little bit ambiguous just simply due to the injuries, but there are other ambiguous backfields. I've talked about the Patriots on the last episode, Harris and Ramondre. I'm okay with Harris, but once again, like Ramondre, the pass catcher, if something happens to Harris, Ramondre is just like to the moon. Where if something happens to Ramondre, I think someone's just going to step in and fill that role. I know that doesn't make sense logically in terms of the reverse being true, but I don't know. It's just kind of a gut there. And if not, I just really like Mac Jones and his ability to throw to the running backs. There's another one here, Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo. I kind of like Singletary. James Cook as the pass catcher is pretty interesting. But if the Bills are, I think once again, if just like kind of like the Ravens, except for different reasons, the Ravens are going to be absolutely run heavy. Being pass heavy is not necessarily a bad thing for the Bills, or not necessarily a bad thing for the running back on this team. There just might be more red zone work, and I think Singletary could take some of that. The ADPs are not split enough where I'm like, I got to go James Cook over Singletary. So if you like one of them, great. The only reason I might not be taking any of them this year is Olave and Wilson are there, especially Olave. That's probably why I don't have a lot of Singletary. Olave and Knox just in the 9th round are just kind of too good to pass up. I do want to talk about Seattle because I've been on Penny for most of the offseason, but that's because Penny was going in like the 11th or the 12th round, and Kenneth Walker was going in like the 8th or the 9th, or even the 9th and the 10th. There was a 2-round split difference, and Penny was behind that. And what's ironic is I think Penny's now ahead of it. I think Kenneth Walker's dropped all the way down behind Penny, and so now we might be eventually on Kenneth Walker. But that's if Kenneth Walker's ADP really really falls, and it could if it reaches like the 11th round. Because everyone's afraid of Seattle, which trust me, I am too. I'm low key regretting the Penny shares, but I was getting it pretty late, so I'm not mad at it. But like what upside are you truly getting with Rashad Penny with how bad we expect the Seattle Seahawks to be? Like they have it's bad. Okay? Gino, Drew, DK and Tyler should be like, I'm out of here. This guy, Pete, is insane. What are we doing? Well, Pete's proved us wrong before. They've got to trade for somebody. I believe they're trading for Garoppolo. One last thing I did want to talk about. I guess I'll talk about this because it happened recently on the slow drafts I mentioned about earlier. I have a late pick, and I could take Jacoby Brissett, who's going to be the starter for Cleveland. And if I took him here, he'd be a value. We're about 10 picks, and I was choosing between him and Jimmy G, who obviously is on the 49ers, but will be on a different team at some point, and currently has a hurt shoulder. And so there's a lot up in the air with Jimmy G. But I do think there's more upside in Jimmy G, especially in a tournament like this, than Jacoby Brissett. I'll explain. Jacoby is, I think, what we see. If he's a starter, he's a bottom 7, probably bottom 10 guy. Where Jimmy G, when he's playing well, is like a top 15, top 20 guy. There might be, I would say top 15 when he's playing really well. So, he's probably in that 15 to 25-ish range, which, that's being generous in terms of the ranking there. But Brissett's are going to be the starter. And I do believe that Deshaun Watson is going to be out for the year. But I've believed a lot of things this offseason that I thought were going to happen. Like Baker's he's going to Seattle. And we're not worried about, we're not thinking that Baker's going to Carolina at all. Baker ends up in Carolina. Yeah, but Baker doesn't really fit that offense that well. And now he's going to Carolina. So, while I do hope that Deshaun Watson gets suspended for the year simply because he's weird, um, there's a a good chance it's only like 12 games or something. And so Jacoby Brissett would be useless to me in the final like third of the season. Jimmy G, on the other hand, just started throwing the other day. Hello. And we want to be ahead of this, especially Jimmy G. Especially with like how this story is going to play out for Jimmy G. The good case is, he's fine, is able to throw, he's traded somewhere, and everyone's saying, oh, there's no way they're going to trade him to Seattle because it's in division. And I kind of get that. But once again, we've been wrong before. And even if they don't trade him to Seattle, there's going to be some team that has a quarterback injury and believes they're the team to win. Or, you know, they don't believe in their quarterback, whatever, and he's the backup. Jimmy G's probably playing this year. And if he does, it's going to be towards the later end of the year. And, he's could be on the Seahawks, which you're not mad. I'm just saying, if Jimmy G goes to the Seahawks, we're seeing DK Metcalf's ADP, which is currently in the 5th round. We're seeing that go up. We're seeing, Tyler Lockett's ADP jump into the 8th round. People are going to be like, oh, okay, Jimmy G at least. It's not Geno. That's how bad the situation is. So, I took Jimmy G because I think he could be really useful in the later weeks. And it was really, really late. I was the only guy who had one quarterback. Everyone else had multiple quarterbacks. Maybe one team had 2, but most of them had 3. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Try to do a quick one here. If you're listening, thank you for listening. I appreciate it, even though you do not have to. I cannot believe you would listen to just the random thoughts of me, but thank you for doing so. And I'll talk to you later.